Temperate Deciduous Forest by Nick and Taylor. Live in a temperate deciduous forest. There are 5 zones, including the tree stratum zone with large trees such as oak, maple, and beech, the tree and sapling zone with younger and shorter trees, the shrub zone with plants like azaleas and huckleberries, the herb zone with herbal plants, and the ground zone with lichen and mosses. The deciduous forest has a variety of animals ranging in size from the mighty grizzly bear to the modest least weevil. Raccoons such as this one live in North America and Europe. Almost all birds and animals are able to live in the temperate deciduous forest, and many have adapted to the climate by hibernating. There are herbivores such as a rabbit, omnivores like this raccoon, and carnivores such as the bobcat. Many animals use the trees of a temperate deciduous forest as shelter from the weather and other dangers. Much of the temperate deciduous forest is dominated by vegetation. There are the 5 zones of the forest, ranging from tall trees to lichens. Examples of vegetation in the temperate deciduous forest include the beech tree, carpet moss, common lime tree, white oak, white birch, lady fern, and guelder rose. Mutualism is a symbiotic relationship where both organisms involved benefit. An example of mutualism in the temperate deciduous forest is between bees and flowers. Bees bring pollen to plants, giving them necessary proteins and fats, and the bees receive nectar from flowers, which is the bees' main source of nutrients and energy. Predation is a large part of life in the temperate deciduous forest. This is how food chains function. Predation occurs between the organisms in the ecosystem, where the predator consumes and acquires energy from prey. An example of this relationship is between the coyote and the squirrel. Coyotes hunt and eat rodents such as squirrels to acquire their needed source of energy. Commensalism is a symbiotic relationship where one animal benefits and the other is unaffected. An example of commensalism is between the squirrel and a tree. The squirrel is benefited by receiving shelter, while the tree is unaffected. Parasitism is the 3rd type of symbiotic relationship. This relationship occurs in the temperate deciduous forest when mosquitoes prey on other animals such as humans. Mosquitoes receive necessary energy and nutrients from people, while we are affected negatively by losing nutrients and contracting possible disease. Competition is a relationship that is always occurring in a temperate deciduous forest. An example of this is between a grizzly bear and the mountain lion. These predators must compete with one another over food sources like fish and deer. The winner can stay, while the loser must move, adapt, or die. In the temperate deciduous forest, there is a multitude of food chains. Energy is transferred between organisms from prey such as herbivores to secondary consumers and finally to tertiary consumers. This picture represents a large food chain with primary consumers like the deer at the bottom and predators such as the grizzly bear at the top.
This is another example of a food chain, but is also a good example of energy flow. On the bottom is the autotrophs, which are also producers, and an example of that is grass. On the next level is the primary consumers, which are also heterotrophs, and in this case are bunnies. Above that is the secondary consumers, which in this case are snakes and are also heterotrophs. And on the top is the tertiary consumer, which in this picture is a hawk. And that is also a heterotroph. An example of how the energy would flow is that at the bottom, for example, if there was 10,000 joules of energy, the next level would only take 10% of that energy. So that would be 1,000 joules for the bunnies. Then going up another level would only be 10% of that, which is 100 joules for the snakes. And by getting to the top of the tower, there would only be 10 joules when originally started with 10,000 joules because only 10% of energy passes from level to level. Abiotic factor of a temperate deciduous forest is the annual rainfall. For the temperate deciduous forest, the annual rainfall is 30 to 60 inches. This is on average of a whole year, not monthly, and is pretty constant throughout all the different locations of the temperate deciduous forest. Another abiotic factor is the average yearly temperature. The range of it in Celsius is negative 10 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius, with the average temperature being around 24 degrees Celsius. In Fahrenheit, that is around 14 degrees Fahrenheit to 86 degrees Fahrenheit, with an average of 75.2 degrees Fahrenheit. The seasons in a temperate deciduous forest are quite interesting. It has 4 very distinct seasons. As you can see in this picture, the top right of it shows what a tree may look like during the spring, with a few buds coming out. In the top left, you can see what a tree in the temperate deciduous forest may look like in the summer, with very green, full branches. In the bottom left, you can see what a tree may look like during the fall of a temperate deciduous forest, with the fall foliage changing colors and many pretty different colors, such as orange or yellow or red. And in the bottom right, you can see what a tree in the temperate deciduous forest may look like in the winter, very bare with no leaves that have all fallen to the ground. The soil in a temperate deciduous forest is very rich and fertile. This is due to the leaves falling off of the trees in the winter, falling to the ground, and being a great source for fungi and bacteria in the soil to develop and giving it a lot of nutrients. Lastly, another abiotic factor about temperate deciduous forests is their sunlight. The temperate deciduous forest gets a lot of sunlight because it's mostly located in the middle latitudes of the Earth. Also, they have a pretty long growing season, with it being from around 4 to 6 months or 140 to 200 days in time for a temperate deciduous forest growing season. This picture highlights all of the places that temperate deciduous forests are located in the world. They are located in New Zealand, southeastern Australia, the eastern half of North America, the middle of Europe, the southwestern region of Russia, Japan, the eastern part of China, and in the southern tip of Chile. A fun fact is that the smallest carnivore in the world lives in a temperate deciduous forest. This is the least weasel and is located in Europe and in Asia. Another fun fact is that most of the cities in the world are located in this biome, in the temperate deciduous forest. This is because the land is so fertile and the soil is so rich. But because there's so many cities in here, a lot of trees are being cut down, which is not good for this biome.